Electronic Arts' Star Wars Battlefront II of 2017 was a game that infuriated a lot of people a couple years ago and merely just disappointed me about now. I am reviewing this game as it is in the present day when I recorded the gameplay, and it gets a lot of a better score than it would have a year and a half ago. Additionally, it will not get as good of a score as when I played it at the EA Play event of 2017 when they just unlocked everything maxed out for everyone and we all had a great time. I really don't know if there's any more context to this game than that, or any synopses or stories that I need to tell about this game. Let me think for a second and then edit out the awkward pauses. Yeah, basically it just came out, had ridiculous microtransactions that eventually got pulled when Disney asked it to please stop doing that stuff, and eventually it came into this hollow shell of a state it is in now. Let's talk about the plot. Because there is a plot in this one, there is a story mode. Plot gets a 2 out of 10. The plot is incoherent and bland, there are tons of plot holes, it gets in the way of your enjoyment of the story, and if anything, I think there is more cinematic than actual gameplay, which is a big no-no for me. My main gripe is that Aiden Versio over here is not quite a Mary Sue, but definitely a hyper-competent strong female character trope, which is kind of like Diet Mary Sue. I say that because she mysteriously always knows what to do, exactly how to do it in every situation. She has no flaws that are actually damaging to her persona, and if anything, she has the world's most convenient crisis of moral alignment. And it really does feel like a certain joke that Mr. Plinkett made about Attack of the Clones when you're playing through the story. How would I fix this? Let's have Jaden, whatever her name is, have her be an Imperial Navy brat in the purest sense. She was literally born on a Star Destroyer, and she genuinely believes that, like, the Empire is her home, not any particular planet. Have it be that, like, instead of her doing the thing, let's have it Del mutinies, and you like have to choose, do you go with Del or do you go with Hask? In case you didn't know, Del and Hask are the other two dudes that are in your Inferno squad. One is very aligned to the Empire, and one has an encounter with Luke Skywalker and is turned on to the idea of the rebellion and that the Jedi are actually the good guys. That also creates a dichotomy where you can have a good character ending and an evil character ending. Who knows? Maybe that would be a much better idea. Maybe that would fix this whole plot. But no, I don't think just changing a couple things would really fix this plot here, and maybe I'll do it in another video. I'm not sure that's worth doing. I don't think anyone even cares about the story mode for Battlefront 2, except for the fact that it has one, and frankly, I would have rather you have been like a nameless stormtrooper in this story. But other than that, the one thing is that one level with Del and Luke Skywalker I really enjoyed, because I felt that was a very good way to move the plot along, as well as introduce you to the Luke Skywalker hero character, which that is what story modes in games like Battlefront and RTSs and other games like that do. They're supposed to introduce you to the characters and the class roles that you play, so that when you graduate to multiplayer, you are familiar with the basics. And that's probably the real reason why people wanted the story mode. They didn't know that was the reason, but that was what was in the base of their brain, just sitting there like, we are not familiar with this yet. We're just going into nothing here. Oh, by the way, world building 5 out of 10, primarily because it's Star Wars. Star Wars is like easy mode for world building. Star Wars, it's as good as you let it be. That's the best way to put it. A great example of this is Drew Karpyshyn's novels that he makes. In case you didn't know, he's the guy that did the Star Wars Old Republic. He did a lot of BioWare's earlier story writing games, but it's very hit and miss in his novels about Star Wars. Some of them, particularly like if we look at the Old Republic run for the MMO, some of them are great. Some of them are not worth the pulpy paper they are printed on. And that shows just there is a huge dichotomy of what you can do with the Star Wars franchise. And in this case, they don't do a whole lot with it, which I am very disappointed about. Let's talk about this game's looks. For graphics, it gets a 10 out of 10 because hot diggity does this game look good. It is really, really graphically impressive. That's the best way to sum it up, is it's almost too good looking of a game. And it does take a few hits in the aesthetics department because of this, because it's so nice looking that it's kind of blah. It's almost like a generified Crisis, especially where the Rebels, I know the Rebels weren't a very aesthetically striking group to begin with. However, if you took off the Rebels like sci-fi doodads, they would basically be any other Rebel faction in any other medium ever. Which we're already midway through the aesthetics critique, so I'll just say 3 out of 10. There is no unique look to them. Like, it's Star Wars, yes, but it does nothing to really show like what heart of Star Wars it's in. There's really nothing all that cool looking. And if anything, if you swapped out or like you made the X-Wings and TIE Fighters invisible in this game, you wouldn't be able to tell it was Star Wars. Like, this game, it's just, there's nothing really exciting. And you can make Star Wars exciting. Old Republic has a very unique feel to it, like just in general. You can tell it's Old Republic era Star Wars whenever you play an Old Republic set game. Same with prequel era games. It's like you can tell. In this case, it's just generic Star Wars, which, yes, that is a kind of Star Wars. That is a thing where it's just, you can tell. It's Disney Star Wars. You can tell it's Star Wars because they got stormtroopers. Sound design, 10 out of 10. Soundtrack, great. Foley and sound effects, great. Voice acting, I don't care about how lame these characters are. Everything is recorded so well. I love it. Great sound design, 10 out of 10. Let's talk about gameplay. 4 out of 10. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. However, it's not very fair or easy to understand, even post loot box. Let me explain that in a way. It very much reminds me of PlanetSide 2's grind to win, now that there are no more loot boxes. And yes, you can say, oh, you can do everything with the starter gun. Oh, you just have to grind for it. It's not fun when you come in as a new player who's excited to play the game now that the loot boxes are gone, and you want to have experience, but you keep on getting raffle stomped because everybody's already sank in hundreds of hours, and their shields are twice as strong as yours. Their turret is significantly more accurate than yours. Their buffs are better. Their everything else is better. They have like so much stronger of a starfighter than you do. And yes, they did earn it, but it's still not fair how much of an advantage they have in a situation that's not like a levels game. Like, it's not an RPG. Everyone is thrown at the same level. Games like World of Warcraft and other MMOs get away with that kind of thing because when you go into PvP, you are matched with people of the same level as you. In Battlefront 2, like, level 2 is put in with level 30. There is no bar. So you're gonna get stomped on a lot. And if anything, this would all be fixed if instead of having 4 different tiers for each star card ability, just make it to where when you level up, you unlock that star card. You get the full version of it. There are no tiers, because then there'd be a fighting chance, because you get some of the like bread and butter upgrades very early on, so you will stand a chance against the level 30s and all whatever that max level is. I think it's 30. I do, however, it gets full marks for the gameplay, like I said, like the funness of it, because this is some of the best Starfighter stuff I have ever played. Like, even better than games like X-Wing and TIE Fighter. It feels so good to fly around in these ships. It's fun, and I like how they make like generic enemies that they aren't actual players, so you can feel like you're shooting down like lesser pilots, and then when another player comes in, it's like the battle of the ace pilots. That I like. I love the space or aerial combat in Star Wars Battlefront II. I also like the vehicular combat. I have to admit, I had a good time being a huge jerk pulling the ATST in Endor and just blamming everyone because it's basically a one-shot kill gun. It's a lot of fun. I do like how they do the battle point thing and how that gives a chance for everyone to be the hero as long as they grind for it. However, you can have a great time without ever pulling a hero by just choosing to pull like a higher tier soldier, like they have enforcer classes, which are unique to each faction. I like that. It's a shame that the game's modifiers and how fair it is completely bring down the game's score. Player character handling, that goes back into like how good it feels to fly around in the starships and how the characters run and shoot exactly how you would like them to do. I feel like DICE has really toned in and dialed down their player character feel and how the levels play. And it's just so good. It earns that 10 out of 10. Diversity of gameplay, also where Battlefront 2 really earns points. It's an 8 out of 10 there because you don't feel like being a heavy machine gunner? Be a squad leader. Don't feel like doing that? Be an enforcer. You can play in the ship. You can be in the AT-AT, you can be in a speeder bike, you can do pretty much any sort of combat that you want to do, and you will have a good time. It is just as much fun to play as an officer as it is to fly around in an X-Wing. Arguably, it is a different, what I'm trying to put down here is different strokes for different folks. You get me? Good. Let's wrap things up for Battlefront 2 with what should be the easy points. Optimization, it gets a 4 out of 10. This is something that DICE is consistently bad about. It's just making their games too big, and if you put them on a traditional disk drive, it takes forever to load. And the usual cop-out excuses, just put it on your SSD, bruh. It's like, it's a 73 gigabyte game. I am not going to clear out everything else on my OS drive except for my OS to play this game, and it is completely unfair to assert that you should buy an entire drive for a single game. That is, I know that SSD prices have gone down over the last couple of years, but that is still, you do not need to buy a single piece of dedicated hardware for one game. A GPU? You can use that on all the games you play. A high-powered processor? Again, all the games work on that. But storage space, you should not need to have an obscene amount of high latency storage space just to play one particular game. And the only real points it gets in optimization is it's very stable. It did not crash, it played very smoothly, and you can very easily hold 60 frames per second. In fact, I was getting like 250 frames a second playing on Ultra in this game. Once this game finally decides to load in, you have a great time. It just takes such a long time for this game to load in. Stability, 10 out of 10, no desyncs, no freezes, no crashes. If anything, I am very proud of DICE for going from the disaster that was Battlefield 4 with its netcode and latency issues to where we are right now, where once you finally get this stupid game loaded, no more issues. And I really appreciate that. Thank you, DICE. Final notes, this game gets a 68 out of 100, which is about what I expected post loot boxes. This would have a much lower score if they had loot boxes, because I believe I have mentioned in the past, in the event that you need to pay to win in any respect, whether that be through loot boxes or otherwise, automatic 0 for your entire gameplay part, which is a 30-point area. That is an instant. You cannot get a good grade on your game. Two more things I want to mention. One, we all wanted this game to be better. And two, just personal conspiracy theory here about the whole new Star Wars thing. I personally think that Kathleen Kennedy pissed somebody off at Disney. And she was given like the Star Wars license to produce, not because they wanted her to succeed, but because someone at Disney knew how toxic the Star Wars fan base is, and they wanted to throw her to the wolves. And that's exactly what happened. Like, look at the entire Star Wars YouTube culture right now. I forget her name. I think it's Marie Tran, the poor girl that was given the role of Rose Tico, and Daisy Ridley are just punching bags for the Star Wars fan base right now. And it's ridiculous. Like, yes, you're pulling ridiculous numbers in ticket sales for your theater. It's Star Wars. If anything, it's a social faux pas if you don't go see the movie. Except for Solo. Nobody went and saw that one. Sign-offs are stupid, and I don't know how to do them. Goodbye. Excuse you. Excuse you. Trying to get some editing done here. I gotta make videos, because that's how we pay for your snacks. Come on. Oh, now you want scritches. I'm gonna turn the light on you. Now it says Star Wars video. We got some J.J. Abrams lens flare up in here. Come on. Are you gonna just hang out here forever? I don't even have any toys to distract you with. Oh, I got this though. You hate this. Oh, you despise this. Now stay out of Daddy's workspace. Where was I?